Professor Zixer stared at his holoslate and regretted every life choice that had led him to teaching Xenobiology 301. It was a course he genuinely loved: ecosystems. Balance predator and prey relationships across 1,000 worlds, but today's module came with a practical requirement: present a predator species from your homeworld. A harmless educational exercise? In theory, in practice, it was the kind of assignment that made university insurance departments scream into void-proof pillows most of the class had already presented in the previous rotations. The Valorans had shown carefully edited recordings of their canyon lurkers, ambush hunters that struck like falling stone. The Threen displayed sealed preservation tubes containing oceanic pursuit predators suspended in perfect stasis. Even the shy Plexians managed to bring neural models of their planet's pack hunters while refusing to remain within 3 meters of the projection. ZIXAR had breathed easier with each presentation until only one name remained on the schedule. SARAH CHEN, Human Earth. She had enrolled 3 cycles ago, the first of her species to sit in these seats. Since Earth's recent entry into the consortium, she sat in the back row like she owned the concept of danger, her forward-facing eyes bright with something Zixer had learned to interpret as amusement. 2 rotations earlier, when Zixer first announced the predator assignment, SARAH CHEN had raised her hand with a smile that revealed those blunt omnivore teeth. Professor, she'd said, "I'll need approval to bring live specimens." The amphitheater had gone silent. So fast Zixer heard the ventilation shift live, not a recording, not a scan, not a preserved sample sealed behind 7 layers of safety protocol, a living predator. One of the Threen representatives had fainted on the spot, a Valorant student admitted. "They sound like a dying kettle," and crawled under their desk. Zixer remembered swallowing hard enough to feel it in all 3 throats. "That is extremely irregular. Miss Chen," he'd managed safety procedures. "I'll take full responsibility." SARAH CHEN had replied, calm, confident, completely human. "They'll be under my control. Trust me. Trust as if it were a lever you could pull." Zixer had looked at her, looked at the rules, looked at the departmental warnings, and then, against every survival instinct that had kept his species alive through to extinction eras, he had signed the permission request. He had spent the next 2 rotations filing risk assessments, updating emergency response plans, and contacting the consortium's liability office so many times the automated voice started greeting him by name now. As the chronometer ticked toward SARAH CHEN's slot, Zixer's hearts fell into an anxious rhythm. He tapped his holoslate again, willed the door to remain closed. It did not obey. The amphitheater entry panel slid open with a soft hiss, and a wave of audible gasps moved through the room like a weather system. SARAH CHEN stepped inside, and sitting on her shoulders, balanced with casual ease, were 2 small predators. They were juvenile, yes, but their anatomy broadcast hunter in every line. Alert ears, keen eyes, compact muscle jaws built to clamp and hold. ZIX's neural implant flared as it accessed Earth's biological registry: Canis lupus familiaris, domesticated descendants of wolves, pack origin, apex predators, adult bite strength capable of fracturing bone, long evolutionary history. Alongside humans, even the classification notes had a warning: high loyalty, high drive, high capability. The creatures were small, but not harmless. Their claws ticked faintly against SARAH Chen's protective jacket as they shifted. Their mouths parted slightly, showing sharp milk teeth. Their gaze tracked the amphitheater the way a laser tracks prey. SARAH CHEN walked forward like she was carrying 2 plush toys, everyone. She said brightly, "This is THOR and LOKI," a Valorant student, made a strangled noise and sank so low in their seat they nearly vanished. SARAH CHEN continued, oblivious or pretending to be their 8-week-old German Shepherd pups. One of the cubs, THOR, judging by the collar, opened his mouth in a huge yawn, needle teeth, pink tongue, predator jaw. The room collectively stopped breathing. Zixer forced his voice to function. "Miss Chen, the objective is to present a predator and explain its ecological role. That's exactly what I'm doing." SARAH CHEN said. She moved down the steps toward the presentation platform and lifted both cubs off her shoulders, cradling them against her chest as if they were infants. They did not snap. They did not struggle. Instead, one of them licked her chin, the other gnawed gently on her finger, tail flicking like a metronome. Zixer's antennae twitched in confusion. A predator behaving like a bonded juvenile. SARAH CHEN, set them down on the floor immediately. The two cubs crashed into each other, rolled, scrambled upright, and began a ferocious battle for dominance that involved zero actual harm and maximum dramatic noise. They sounded terrifying, they looked adorable. The combination was psychologically illegal wolves. SARAH CHEN began. Are cooperative hunters with complex social structures. They coordinate, they communicate, they endure. She paced calmly as the cubs tumbled. They can track prey over long distances. They can bring down animals many times their size. They can survive winters that would kill most species outright. A Threen student raised a trembling appendage, then, why are you letting them attack? SARAH CHEN laughed, one of those human sounds that could mean humor. Stress or impending violence, depending on context. Attack me. She repeated their playing watch. She reached into her pocket and produced a small object. Not a weapon, a toy. She tossed it across the amphitheater. The cubs reacted instantly. They launched after it like missiles with paws. Scrambling on the smooth floor, colliding, recovering. Chasing with absolute commitment, the toy skittered beneath a row of seats. Both cubs dove after it. Several students recoiled so hard their chairs squealed. This, SARAH CHEN said, pointing, is prey drive the instinct to chase, catch, and kill. She spoke the word kill with the casual tone of someone discussing homework in adult wolves. It takes down elk and bison in Puppies. It gets redirected toward toys and littermates under the seats. The cubs growled and tugged at the toy like it was a living thing. The sounds made the Plexians shrink inward. But here's what matters. SARAH CHEN continued, voice shifting from playful to firm. The human-canine relationship is unusual, Zixer, Swallowed explained. 30,000 years ago. SARAH CHEN said, wolves began circling human camps, not to hunt us mostly. They were drawn by leftovers, by warmth, by opportunities. She whistled sharply. The cubs froze then. Without hesitation, they released the toy and sprinted back to her, sitting. At her feet with intense focus, the amphitheater stared. It wasn't just obedience, it was connection. We shaped them. SARAH CHEN said softly, scratching behind their ears, and they shaped us. We evolved together. Zixer leaned forward despite himself. Humans are persistence hunters. SARAH CHEN explained, we're not fast, we're not strong compared to many predators. But we don't stop. She looked around at the class we follow. Prey until it collapses from exhaustion. Wolves hunt as coordinated. Packs together, we became more effective than either of us alone, a Valorant student dared to ask. Voice barely above a whisper, how did you coexist with something that could kill you? SARAH CHEN's expression warmed because humans have a weird quirk. She said, we look at something that can ruin our day forever and we think, I want to be friends. With that, a ripple of nervous laughter spread through the room, quickly smothered by fear. SARAH CHEN continued, we've befriended predators across Earth, wolves, cats, birds of prey. We keep snakes, we swim with sharks. Zixer blinked for survival. SARAH CHEN's smile widened, sometimes for fun. The professor's antennae nearly folded in disbelief. SARAH CHEN scooped up both cubs again. They relaxed completely, melting into her arms as if gravity was optional. These two, she said, lifting them slightly, will grow into 70-pound predators with strong jaws and instincts older than human cities. She kissed Laura's head. They'll be fast enough to catch prey, strong enough to knock me over. Their bite can break bone, a Plexian student whispered. Horrified then, why trust them, SARAH CHEN? Didn't hesitate because I'll train them, I'll care for them, I'll love them. She looked down at Loki, who had begun to doze off, tiny chest rising and falling. And because 30,000 years of partnership taught both species the same lesson, she glanced back up. Eyes steady, we're better together. Silence held the amphitheater, not the silence of fear this time. Something else had joined it. Curiosity, wonder, maybe even hope. Zixer cleared his throat carefully. So humanity does not control predators through cages or stasis fields. No. SARAH CHEN said, we control them through responsibility. The cubs shifted, tails thumping softly, and through bonding. SARAH CHEN added, we don't just study predators, we invite them into our homes. We let them sleep near our children, we make them family. A Valorant student slowly raised a manipulator appendage. May I touch one? SARAH CHEN's face lit up. Absolutely. She said they love meeting new people. The class approached like they were stepping toward a live bomb that might also be Fluffy Thor wriggled out of SARAH Chen's arms and waddled forward with the confidence of a tiny tyrant. He sniffed, a trembling Threen's appendage and then licked it enthusiastically. The Threen froze then, impossibly, made a sound that could only be described as a laugh. Loki climbed onto a seat, then onto the headrest, then somehow onto a student's shoulder, like he belonged there. The student trembled and didn't pull away. Zixer watched it happen and felt something inside his chest loosen. He opened his holoslate and began writing, "Humanity does not defeat predators by force, they transform. Predators through trust, care, and social bonding." He paused and added, "This may explain their rapid integration into the consortium. They view potential allies everywhere, including where enemies should be, THOR, emboldened by attention." Climbed onto a Valoran's head and perched there like a fuzzy crown. The Valoran looked like they were experiencing a spiritual event. Zixer added one final note, antennae twitching with reluctant admiration. Humans may be the most dangerous predators of all, not because they hunt well, but because they can turn other predators into friends. We should be grateful they prefer cooperation over conquest. In the back of the amphitheater, SARAH Chen watched an entire room of aliens fall in love with two tiny predators, and she smiled like a species that had always been good at one thing, making friends with the impossible. Loved this phase story? Hit subscribe and join the Neon family on neoncub.thl/new sci-fi, and HFY drops are coming. So subscribe now so you don't miss the next one. Like the video. If Thor and Loki stole your heart, cam at your favorite moment and tell me which cub you'd adopt. Share this with a friend who would definitely bring 2 cubs to Class Hanks for watching Neon Cub Tales. See you in the next story.